It's such a pleasure to start our live, and we're blocked on our stream. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows who's doing it. But we're kind of used to that, aren't we, Will Johnson?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, big news out of the Middle East today. Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind arch terrorist mass murderer behind the October 7th slaughter in southern Israel last year, was killed last night or sometime yesterday. They discovered the body today in Gaza. This is the happy man in his previous still alive mode. Lots and lots of pictures coming out of Gaza this morning and this afternoon showing him quite dead, 100% confirmation that it's him. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. It's about a year overdue. There were three terrorists that were killed together, and one of them was Sinwar. The IDF has identified the guy that was found next to him, his bodyguard, as an UNRWA teacher and part-time terrorist and bodyguard to mass murderer Yahya Sinwar. For those that aren't familiar, Sinwar was responsible for the deaths of over 1,200 people, Israelis, Americans, uh, French, Germans, Italians. They killed everybody. They took 250 hostages, 101 remain in Gaza, 48 were killed as captives executed by Hamas. Um, they finally got him yesterday. He literally was found with lots of cash on him, numerous passports under different names. It looked like he was attempting to flee. And Israel is now offering $100,000 per hostage released, dead or alive, and amnesty for whoever lets the hostage go. And God willing, some Palestinians will step up and get the terrorists away from the hostages and vice versa. And maybe this war can finally be over.
Yes, $100,000 sounds good to
Per
me
per hostage, dead or alive.
per
Israel
hostage.
will
So
pay
if I
for
know
dead
two
bodies.
of them, if I can get two of them, especially if they're get two of them alive, and they're gonna give me ammunition, I'm gonna help them get out. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
You'd think
What's to
so.
stop them from saying it's a trap?
Well, nobody knows till it happens, but the fact of the matter is, a lot of the people that are alive in Gaza, the Palestinians, are scared to death of being shot
Yeah.
or tortured by Hamas. And finally, now that Sinwar's gone, and the Israelis already got Mohammed Deif last year, they got Ismail Haniyeh. Though actually that was this year. Both of them, one Ismail Haniyeh was the political head of Hamas. Mohammed Deif was the military head. They killed them both this year. Now that Sinwar's gone, there is no hierarchy. There's no one to take over. This could be the end of one of the worst terror groups on planet Earth.
You don't think they're gonna
Oh,
grow another head on the snake?
well, I talked to Israel quite extensively this morning when it was announced, and Israel is not just going to jump out of Gaza easily. They are going to prevent the reinitiation of the hierarchy, management, command and control managers of the terror group, and supposedly they've been defeated militarily. Now that they can clean it up and get somebody in there to run the place, Gaza might turn into the paradise that it was supposed to be when Israel pulled out in 2006. Oh, by the way, there's no occupation, there's no Jews there until Israel invaded to go get the hostages. We'll see. It's
Yeah.
great news. They're celebrating all over the Middle East. A lot of countries hated Hamas, including Israel.
So I'm wondering, are we gonna see how is Iran gonna respond to this?
Well, Iran has been financing, supporting, training, and arming them since Hamas started.
Right.
It's an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood, and they're chief financial backer besides Qatar is Iran. So we'll see. I mean, Israel's got a long arm, and Iran doesn't want to make a lot of noise right now. They're getting prepared to have the crap bombed out of them as retaliation for their ballistic missile attack of a few weeks ago. I don't think Iran's going to make much noise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would imagine not. I think they're trying to prepare to see what Israel's going to do when it comes to their nuclear facilities in the country. And they actually put Israel in a bind. They put Israel to a point to where they have to do something, because if they don't do anything, from the last attack from Iran, Iran will they'll puff out their chest and say, "Look what we did to Israel, and they knew better than to mess with us. We're strong." I mean,
So
so
the
Israel,
one thing that was said today that I should comment on, Biden said to Israel, now's the time to make peace and make a ceasefire. And he didn't mention anything about getting the hostages out. It's just disgusting. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
disgusting. Make a peace treaty.
maybe he
Stand
doesn't
down.
remember.
Stop shooting people. But forget the
Maybe he,
hostages.
yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe he just doesn't. Maybe he doesn't remember that there's hostages there.
Well, as we know from the other day, he didn't know there was a storm that he was flying over. So
That's true. Oh,
that's your
yeah. I thought
president.
you were talking about, yeah. Thought you were talking about a
That's
different
your
story.
that's your president. Um, Here's a weird one. Speaking about President Biden, Will Johnson, I for the life of me, I can't understand this. It's against federal law to vote if you're a non-citizen. Everybody knows that law. Um, a number of states, to comply with the law, are trying to clean up their voter rolls. No more dead people. No more people that moved out of state, right? No more people that didn't present the proper identification to register to vote. They want to clean up the voting rolls. Biden-Harris administration is suing states from cleaning up their voter rolls. Is there any possible logical explanation that you can come up with that why the Democrats would sue states? And I know you're gonna
You
laugh and go, because they want to cheat, but
you
it's
know the
against the
answer.
law.
Yeah, but you know the answer why they're trying to do this. I mean, let me put it this way. Let's say we got two basketball teams. One, they're all 7 foot, maybe 6'8", 7 foot. The other one, they're like 5'7". That's the tallest one, and 5'4". Okay. And they go on the court and they say, well, you know what? We need to take away some of your points because you're tall. This is what's happening here. So we need to take away some of your points because you're tall, and we need to add in some points. Okay. And these points that we're going to add in are from players that are not even on the team. These are just random people that never even practiced with us, never done anything, but we're going to take their points and just add them to our scoreboard. Okay. Because we need things to be fair. I mean, I know it's a poor analogy, but that's what's happening. They have to do this because, look, Barry, you've informed. Let me say this real quick.
Okay.
Let me just say this real quick. You have informed millions upon millions of people on factual information. That becomes a problem. When people learn the truth, when they become informed, it becomes a problem. So they need to replace these informed people, because of Barry, with people that are not informed to go along with insanity. And let me ask you this. If you're Barry, you're a judge. I come to you and I say we need to have these non-citizens to be registered to vote. How do you, before you even say anything, what look would you give me?
Something like that. But Will, hold it. There are judges issuing restraining orders today and yesterday against 3 states, stopping them from cleaning up the voter rolls.
Didn't they take an oath?
I don't know who they took the oath to, Will, because look, in Virginia they're doing it. In Alabama they're doing it. In Georgia they're doing it. They're just trying to delete people that are dead. They're doing the same thing in North Carolina, and these federal judges are saying, no, you can't clean up the voter rolls. I'm
You know what?
stupefied.
When I heard that too, I was wondering, did they take an oath? Do they understand that there's already a active law in this country? We already have laws on the books about this. So, of course, this amount of time, it's going to get appealed, and it has to go to the Supreme Court. But so they're going to have, it has to go.
There's not going to be enough time before the election, Will. The people are already voting. It'll get to the Supreme Court next year. I mean, look.
Yeah. And then if they're successful in the shenanigans, it'll be too late.
That's the point. And one of the articles that I read this morning said, once a vote is cast, you don't know if Will Johnson, the live guy in Texas, did it, or Steve Johnson, the guy that died in 1926, voted. A ballot doesn't have a name on it. And once it's cast and goes into the counting system, you don't know if that guy's dead or alive, or Juan Johnson from Nicaragua. You don't know. That's the problem. So you can't fix it after the votes have been accepted. That's the problem.
You know what it sounds like?
You got to clean the voter rolls before you pass out the ballots.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what it sounds like? That we're going to have more people voting than people even exist in the country.
Well, that has happened very closely in a couple of different places where they can't figure out how that many people voted because there's not that many people registered.
Yeah. But so there's not enough data for us to look at it. Yeah. And they just come back and say there's not enough data, or there's not enough, anything to change the outcome of anything. So we're just going to move along because there's nothing to see here, because we got the outcome that we want. Now, Barry, if they don't get the outcome that they want, then they're going to be happy to do lawsuits. Then they'll be happy to say, wait a minute, we need to look at this. We need to hold up. We need to hold up and look at this. We need to verify. Then they're going to want to verify if they don't get the results that they want, which really looks like we're headed down that way, especially after last night.
Unbelievable. And I know this is not going to be a shocker to Will Johnson. I'm reading the various lawsuits that have been filed. All the lawsuits trying to clean the voter rolls up are filed by Republicans like George W. Bush and so on. And the lawsuits filed to keep the voter rolls intact were filed by the Obama administration, the Biden administration, the Clinton administration. I wish I could see a trend here. I can't figure it out.
You know what, Barry? It's pretty disgusting that we have a group that say that they want to that they believe in the law, and they do stuff like this. They run to a judge and they get this judge, and I think all of these judges that actually participated in this, they should lose their seats. They should not be able to practice law ever again, because these are blatantly wrong.
These are federal judges, Will, that are on the bench for life.
They should be removed. They should be removed. So what happens when you violate the oath that you took? What happens when you violate the Constitution? Because that's exactly what they're doing here. There needs to be accountability. There has to be. The country cannot continue functioning like this. There has to be a stopping point to say no more. There has to be a stopping point. And Barry, let me say this really quick before you move on. I spend quite a little bit of time on X, because it's more free speech allowed on X. Well, a lot of people are taking their pictures and they're posting them saying, that they're voting for a particular person. And when they vote for her, I just put a simple comment in the question. And I'm gonna encourage everybody that's watching, just try this out. When they take the picture and say that I voted and they say I voted for her, put one little question. How many times did you vote? Barry, I just stumbled onto this, right? And I just put that little one statement in there, and it goes berserks. They go crazy. How dare you? They start calling me all of these names. And look, what's the simple answer to that, Barry? If I ask you,
Once.
okay, that's all you have to say. But you know what? They get angry. Why would you get angry about something like that if you're only doing it one time?
Little too close to home, brother. A little too close to home.
I encourage. So next time you see it, just try it. How many times did you vote? I'm just curious.
Okay. We all watch Kamala Harris's bizarre attempt at a real sit-down interview, the first one since she's run for president. I don't know how it happened, but she sat down with Bret Baier yesterday, Fox News. It was supposed to be 30 to 45 minutes. She had a very tight window. They showed up very late, rushed to start, and then before the interview was half gone with Bret Baier's questions, her people started pulling her out of the interview and insisting Fox cut the feed. So Bret Baier, when you watch it, is saying, "Oh, I'm seeing they're waving me off. They're saying we're out of time." It's the biggest interview she's ever gotten, and they're doing this because she wasn't answering any questions. And when he started off, would you have changed anything about the border and how many people got let in? 1 million, 5 million, 10? I mean, that's where he should have started. And she starts blaming Trump for her opening up the border.
Yes.
As border czar, it was bizarre. I went through about 20 different tapes, and I decided to play this one just to show you how frustrating it must have been for Bret Baier, who, by the way, is like the nicest, easiest guy. He's the least aggressive person at Fox News they could have picked. So she's very lucky it wasn't one of another couple. If she had gotten Judge Jeanine as an example, or Gutfeld,
Jesse Waters.
Jesse Waters would have torn her in two. But this is Bret Baier just trying to ask a question, and watch her not answer at all.
Treated and talked about America's military and military service people, calling them suckers and losers,
Hamas
has diminished
and
the
Houthis.
significance.
We're talking over each other. I apologize.
Well, I would like that we would have a conversation that is grounded in full assessment of the facts, which includes, I think this interview is supposed to be about the choices that your viewers should be presented about this election, and the contrast is important.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the subject of Iran, I am offering what should be an important contrast that is presented for folks to make a decision that they feel.
Who look at what the administration did and say and think differently. Madam Vice President, they're wrapping me very hard here. I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things.
There's more to say. I have much more to say.
There are a lot of things that people want to learn about you and your policies.
She didn't answer anything. And I mean that literally. I watched it twice. And he was asking the right questions. And then she would just talk over him and filibuster forever, as if I've just got to get through 20 minutes without getting trapped. Like this really sticks out. Madam Vice President, you said that Joe Biden was on top of his game and running circles around everybody. When did you know that he was not capable, or something like that, to continue as president, right? And what did she say? Well, Donald Trump, da-da-da-da-da-da, Donald Trump, da-da-da-da, and she wouldn't answer the question. The same as she wouldn't answer the question about opening the border. How did you rate it?
Angry black woman.
Well, at least you said she's black. She was
She's not.
was Indian
Well, she's
3
still-
months ago.
yeah, until 3 months ago. You know what, Barry? The entire time she was on there, she showed up, like you said, she showed up late. She showed up on the offensive, and you know, wanting to attack and not just have a question and question and answer session, an interview. She didn't want to answer any of the questions. She wasn't prepared. And that clip you just played, she said this was supposed to be about people seeing, you know, the difference, like what I'm gonna do, and I come on here and I bash Trump, and that's all it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be nice to me, and you're supposed to join in with me and let me bash Trump. And he said that, you know, is there anything else you want to say about Trump? I know you want to say more about Trump. Instead of talking about Trump, she should have been talking about what she's planning on doing that will be positive, that will benefit the American people. But she can't help herself. TDS is a real thing. And the TDS was flaring bad with her last night. Barry, and I put something on X. Can I read this really quick? Really quick.
Sure. Yeah.
I said, I think we might be wrong about Kamala Harris. Let me explain. That's what I'm reading this. Let me explain. Many people on the right have been asking or have been saying Kamala Harris is not black and saying that she's Indian. Well, when watching the Fox News interview last night, it would appear that she was acting like an angry black woman.
Well, you know, was the anger an act? I mean, it almost seems like she was doing this, deflect, trying to pull Bear off the questions. And he kept repeating, and she kept talking over him. He was so respectful. Madam Vice President, Madam Vice President, you know,
yes,
he reined himself in. I would have lost my temper. Like,
most of the time,
said, shut up. Let me ask you a question. It's my interview.
Yeah, most of the time he was saying, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You know, he was being completely respectful for her. He never raised his voice, started yelling at her. He didn't express any anger towards her, but he was being stern by saying, look, let's stay on track here. You're getting off the question. So most of the time when she's doing any kind of interview, they ask her a question and she'll go off about, well, I was growing up in the middle class. And that has nothing to do with the question. So he made sure to bring her back to the question so she would not get away from it. And she was getting highly agitated. You can see it. And I don't know if you have the clip, but there's one where he showed her about the illegal. I think we're going to get into that. Where we're talking about the illegal, and he shows her a clip, but then he shows and she, you know, talking about her needing to apologize. We'll get into that, I'm sure. But then there's the point where he shows her a video of Trump, and man, just the point that she had to look at a video of President Trump and hear his voice. She came unglued, Barry.
So
she came completely
let me ask you this. You know, when I used to get briefed on talking points when I was in politics, they would say, whatever you're asked, make sure you get your talking points in. I felt like everything that she was asked, in her mind, she was remembering the admonishment and mention how bad Trump is, that he's not capable, that he's angry, that he's a fascist, that he's going to take away rights. You know what I mean? He could have asked her, Madam Vice President, you're wearing a beautiful outfit. Where did you get it? And she would have said, Donald Trump doesn't wear good outfits. You know, I mean, it would have been like that, don't you think?
100%. Everything. I mean, the prime example is when he was asking her about the number of, people that they let into the country. Yeah, that they let into the country.
She wouldn't. He asked her 4 different ways to Sunday.
Because she kept deflecting from it. She didn't want to answer it, and he brought it right back. And of course, she wants to blame President Trump. That's the whole thing. And I love the fact that he says, look, it's because of what you did before that bill that you keep regurgitating.
Which is an amnesty bill.
And it was an amnesty bill. But the point is that they did executive order to undo everything that President Trump did to allow these people to come into the country into the first place. But she didn't want to address that. She didn't want to talk about that. She wanted to talk about Trump, talking about living rent-free in one's mind. She's completely,
Couldn't agree more.
I mean, huh?
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Unreal. Let's go into this. This is important. When we did our last show, in the middle of the show, last Thursday, when we were live, the most outrageous thing popped up on our producer's screen, which I'm going to show the audience right now. In the middle of the show last week, we started getting blocked for violent or graphic content, and our video is covered so people can choose whether or not they want to see it. We were simply reporting the news. No weird stuff, no weird commentary. That's what happened. So I'm thinking, is it just us or is it other people as well, right? And when you start doing some research, you realize it's not just us, Will Johnson.
No.
And what I mean by that is there's an undercover video just released by OMG.
Yes.
O'Keefe Media Group.
Yes.
Project Veritas, used to be Project Veritas. Now he's out on his own. When you see this video undercover, this is going to let you know what's happening to ATP, what's happening to Unite America First, what's happening to people that support Donald Trump. Watch this video. It's shocking.
Uncle in Ohio said something about Kamala Harris is isn't unfit to be a president because he doesn't have a child.
Okay.
That kind of shit is automatically demoted.
Meet Jeevan Gowali, a senior software engineer at Meta.
Are they doing a good job protecting our democracy? Because I can see these right-wing groups setting up Instagram accounts or Facebook accounts for that matter, right? And just start posting disinformation, be Harris is blah, blah, blah.
That's all going to be demoted 100%. The civic classified is strong.
The senior software engineer also goes on to say that, quote, the person would not be notified, unquote, if they were demoted because of their anti-Kamala Harris post on Meta, and red-listed, that's a new term we just learned, red-listed, meaning, according to Collins Dictionary, things that are not permitted.
Would the person who posted that would he be notified that?
The person would not be notified, but there's these things that what you collect is if a bunch of items that if at least a couple of items that a person has created has violated civic classifier, then they're also red listed.
Our OMG American Swiper asked Jeevan if Meta was shadow banning users for their anti-Kamala Harris posts. Take a look at what he says.
So is that called shadow banning?
Shadow banning, yeah.
Okay, so they will be shadow banned.
Correct.
They will never be shown. But so they will see a dip in impressions and engagement,
yeah.
But they would not be officially warned of the reason why.
Correct.
We asked Gowali if Meta has the ability to affect the upcoming 2024 election, to which he responded, yes, Meta does. Jeevan also confirmed that Mark Zuckerberg intends to help the Democrats in this election cycle.
You guys have the ability to influence the outcome of the election.
Yes.
Do you think Zuckerberg agrees? Good. Is he going to help the Democrats?
Yeah.
Wow. So remember when Zuckerberg wrote that letter to Congress that the government was telling him what to do and he regrets it?
Yeah.
I guess that was just for get off my back. See, I'm a nice guy. I'm fair. You've always said repeatedly, even if you change management at the top, it's the engineers down below that are
Yep.
affecting everything. And this guy flat out said three things. Number one, we can throttle down any content we want. Number two,
Yep.
we can shadow ban whoever we want. Number
Yep.
three, Zuckerberg is in on it too. We're all in favor of Kamala.
Yep.
And I guess the conclusion, therefore, is, and we will affect the election.
Yeah. Yeah. Total election interference. Completely election interference. I mean,
If Congress sees this, I mean, this is shut down Facebook stuff, I think.
it really is, but you have people like Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, Jerry Nadler, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Cory Booker, Jasmine Crockett, just, Goldman, Adam Schiff. And there's even a few that leans to the well, they say they're on the right, but they're total liberals, like Adam Kissinger and Liz Cheney. They are all for censoring conservatives. They're not for free speech. They're 100% against free speech. And Barry, I've talked to constitutional lawyers before, and they said, well, these are private companies. And I agree, they are private companies. But you know what? That goes out the window when you have actual proof that the feds were working with these companies to purposely censor the American people. All of that goes out the window. The very fact that Mark Zuckerberg wrote that letter, that's evidence that should be entered. That is 100% evidence. He's admitting on paper. He signed it. Yes, we were working with the feds to censor the American people. And guess what? Even though I put it out there, we're still going to do it. We're still going to do it.
That's the part that gets me.
Yeah, we're still going to do it.
I was robbing banks.
Yeah.
But I'm still robbing banks.
Yeah, exactly. Write it down. I robbed all of these people from their income. Sorry. And then I'm still going to do it because nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for people like, OMG going undercover with a camera, probably, in her purse or in her button of her dress or something like that, you'd never know this stuff. Unbelievable.
My question is how in the world she has to be drop dead gorgeous, Barry, because he's like spilling the beans. I mean, what in the world? He's out on a date with this woman. He has no idea who she is, and he's spilling the beans. How did they even start that conversation? I guess she said, because to my understanding, they met through a dating app.
Engineer? Engineers are smart. Can I buy you lunch?
Yeah, they met through a dating app, so he probably had it on there, what he does for a living. I'm an engineer, blah, blah, blah. And she said, well, let's talk about that. What do you do?
Yeah.
Oh, we do X, Y, Z.
And here's another double scotch with lunch.
And then they probably just come out, well, how do you stop these conservatives? How do you shut them up? Because they're saying some really hurtful things. And he probably hearing that, okay, she's cool. She's one of us. She's completely okay with us censoring him. And you know what I've learned, Barry? That these people like him, they're not even from America. And they become engineers in one of the top tech companies in the world here in America. And they're censoring Americans. They don't adhere to the U.S. Constitution. They don't even care about the Constitution. And it's the same people. Let me tell you this. And then all the hacking that's taking place on Facebook that just so happened to be when you call in or when you get a phone call from Facebook support, guess what? They have the same accent and they're from the same location as the people that just so happen to be hacking a lot of accounts on Facebook. But that's just a coincidence. Okay. It's just a coincidence.
I'm just waiting for the thing to pop up on my screen. Graphic and violent content. Feed restricted. I'm going to blame you.
But it's true.
I've got an amazing video that's going to take a few minutes to play. Bill Maher has become about my favorite liberal on one issue, which is Israel. He is refusing the insane narrative that is propagated by the far left communist, Marxist, progressive, Islamic merger along with LGBTQ. Check out this video that he puts out in response to a big name rock star that is a ferocious backer of the Palestinians in alliance with the gay community and all their rights in Gaza.
From TikTok is like getting all your calories from Hostess. I know you're moved by what you see on there. We all are, the dead Palestinian bodies. But it's odd that your generation didn't seem nearly as moved by the Jewish bodies on October 7th. You killed at Coachella this year, but when Hamas kills at a music festival, it's a whole other thing. Doesn't the sight of so many young women raped at a music festival make it a little personal? My guess is that Gen Z hearts are hardened by the propaganda you see on TikTok, which likes to call the Jews colonizers. But colonizers are intruders who have no history in an area, like when Spain conquered the Mayans, or when your mom took over Facebook. When the Dutch took over South Africa, they had no history to the land, they just wanted it. But Israel is the Jews' homeland, and Jews have always lived there, I cap you not. You can look it up. It's in this book called The Bible, which is horribly wrong about sex ed, slavery, science, and cooking, but the archaeology checks out. It says the Jews built a temple with a really big wall 7 centuries before Muhammad or Islam ever existed, and sure as shit, you can still go there and touch it. Calling Jews colonizers in Israel is like calling Native Americans colonizers here. It's ridiculous. Chappell, did you know that for 2,000 years, Palestine was like an Uber driver with a 3-star rating? Nobody wanted it. And there was never any Arab country called Palestine. It was an orphan province. And if you ask people what they thought about it back then, they'd say it gave them the ick. But after World War II, and after the Jews were very nearly wiped out by an actual attempted genocide, they decided it was time for their historic homeland to be an actual country, so that for once they could defend themselves. And the UN, we like them, right? Yeah, they agreed and voted a country for each of the indigenous peoples. One side agreed to that, but the Arabs had a slightly different proposal. They said, how about we keep it all and wipe you out? Chappell, if you think it was repressive growing up queer in the Midwest, try the Mideast. You're a female drag queen, and you sing, I fucked you in the bathroom when we went to dinner, your parents at the table. Yeah, that wouldn't fly in Gaza, although you would straight off a roof.
That's some hard truth, isn't it?
Wow. Wow.
And none of those people, as we say every week, has ever been there.
No.
And they would not get out alive. But
no,
it doesn't, it ruins the story, Will, so they don't mention that.
I'm surprised they hadn't tried to cancel him for, coming out and speaking the truth like that, other than his comments about the Bible, but it was true about the Bible, what he said about the historical fact of it, talking about the wall and talking about, the historical information. But I'm surprised they're not. Maybe they are, because it's a growing thing for them to say it's okay to hate Israel. And I'm really surprised he actually speaking up. I mean, it surprised me with John Fetterman. John Fetterman, he still falls off the wagon every now and then. He, loses his marbles.
Yeah, but he's a sharp dresser, Will. So you got to give him that.
But he was standing his ground when it comes to Israel, which is really odd to me. And same thing with Bill Maher. Was stand his ground, and which I find interesting, because there's some people. Was it Seinfeld? Same thing with Seinfeld. He will stand his ground, which is
it takes more people like him and John Voight and Patricia Heaton to stand up for what's right. You got to do the right thing, because evil never survives and wins because of the evil that people do. It's because of the people that watch and do nothing. And it's been said for 1,000 years. You allow it to happen in front of you, you're the enabler.
Yeah. I just wish Bill Maher would apply that same common sense to everything else.
Well, I don't ask for too much. I'm thrilled with this. I don't know if you've noticed, Will, but over the past 7 to 10 days, the Harris Waltz campaign is working overtime to get the black vote. I think the polling is showing, I'm going to get to that. The polling is showing that black support for the Kamala Harris Waltz ticket is dropping. And so they're coming out with all kinds of enticements that they think will capture the black male vote, like Obama trying to shame black men into voting for Kamala, or Kamala saying, well, we're going to legalize pot because that's what black men do. They smoke pot all day, so we'll make it legal. Even though she put thousands of black men in jail in California, proudly, I might add, for the same crime that she was doing and bragging about it on podcasts, smoking weed. Listen to what this guy says when he talks about being labeled a white supremacist. I know this is going to sound familiar, for supporting the other side.
Supremacist, and you can see me. We're in person.
Yeah,
I'm a brown black man, as brown as they come, with an African last name. Yeah. My last name is Amanchukwu. It means I know God. My father's from Nigeria. My mother's from the States. But they called me a white supremacist, and Uncle Tom, and a coon, because I disagree with the whole mythology of blacks just being victims in America. And so when you push back against the woke left, they'll call you anything possible to get you to shut up.
Sound familiar, like your story, Will Johnson?
Oh, yeah. Nancy Pelosi said that I was a white supremacist when I was living in California. I'll never forget it. But you know what? You're right, Barry. The support that black people have been given to the Democrat Party has gone on far too long, and it's actually changing. Over on the Communist News Network, they were doing their polls, and they were going through them, and they noticed a trend happening that more black people, and it's not just black men, but we're talking about black women as well, black people in general, they're starting to shift. They're seeing a shift from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party. And the guy that was on the Communist News Network, he was saying that the last time they seen this many black people supporting the Republican candidate was Nixon. So a trend started taking place. So after Nixon, black support for the Republican Party started doing this, started going down. Well, the support for the Democrat Party started doing this, and it plateaued and peaked out when Obama was in office. And the support for the Republicans from the black community hit an all-time low, the lowest ever, when Obama went into office. Well, Obama's second term, it started changing. The direction of black people supporting the Democrat Party started declining, and for the Republican Party started going up. Now we're back to the numbers to where it was with Nixon. And I'm going to go on a limb here and say it's even more, because when you go to the gas station, when you go to the grocery store, when you want to go out and just be safe going to the mall, all of that has gone away because of the current administration. And then Obama coming out saying that if you're black, and he's scoring black men because they're not supporting Kamala Harris because she's supposed to be black and she's a woman, as if black people can't make the decision for themselves on who they want to vote for. Like, you need assistance, and I'm here to tell you. And you know what else it reminded me of, Barry? It reminded me of this movie called Django. And in the movie Django, you have Samuel Jackson. And Samuel Jackson was on a Democrat plantation. And what would happen during that time, when black people would run away from the plantation, they would use people that were black to go chase them down and bring them back. A lot of people don't know this. This is factual history. When I first learned that, I struggled with it because, you always see the images of a white man on a horse with a rein in his hand or a whip in his hand. That's the image that they always give us, and they want to teach us that via CRT, et cetera, et cetera. But Obama is playing that same role. Go out and get those and bring them back in. That was his objective, and I saw a firestorm. You have Stephen A. You know who Stephen A. is? He's
ESPN.
ESPN. Yeah. He piping mad with Obama for doing this. Obama would have been better just saying, what are we doing wrong? Instead of, scorning black people, he should have said, what are we doing wrong? And the black people the black men that were in the room with him, I wish one of them would have said, well, when you were in office, you did nothing. But you want us to expect that she's going to do something? Now, you did something for the sodomite community. You did a lot for them. But when it came to the black community, you did nothing. And you know who did something for the black community? President Trump. He actually did something.
I might want to point out the highest
and they're expecting all of us to forget
employment in history.
And for Hispanics. And women and under President Trump, more women started businesses. And then, of course, they found a way to make all that go away. And then they don't want people to know about it.
Oh, I got a story for you, Will Johnson. The diversity, equity, inclusion expert in the state of Oregon got her boss fired from his job because he had the audacity to say he's looking beyond gender and identity and hiring, seeking only candidates most qualified for the job. That's a quote.
Wow. And they fired him for that?
Here's the lady that turned him in.
Oh, my goodness.
I want you to see her picture.
That's a woman?
That's Megan Donaker. She identifies as, well, pretty much what you're looking at. Queer. She said she doesn't feel comfortable as one of the 6 queer employees. She says, like, the workplace has to be diverse and inclusive, and that has to be the core value. And having an emphasis on performance, efficiency, and background should be second to making her feel comfortable. She is now an accomplice to marginalized communities, as she calls it. This is an agency with a budget of $500 million.
Wow.
1,400 employees, and she wants everybody fired that doesn't put DEI above competence.
Wow.
Welcome to Oregon.
Wow.
By the way, counties in Oregon are now saying they're going to discontinue DEI, and they're going to start focusing their hiring on competency. And people like this person feel marginalized because of it. So out of the total number of employees, which are 1,400, she said 6 of them feel marginalized. And because the 6 of them are feeling insecure, the boss got fired for maintaining a standard for the other 1,400. Are you getting the idea of how narcissistic these people are, that the whole world has to revolve around them? It's startling to me.
Yeah, just a small group. And you have to give them what they want, disregard the rest of reality, and go along with the insanity.
Unbelievable. Welcome to Oregon.
How was that not a lawsuit?
Well, it probably will be. It
I
probably
mean, it
will
should be.
You'd think. You'd think. Moving on to Harvard University and other elite institutions that get billions in federal money, but are breaking the law because they're not combating anti-Semitism. I want to show you my hero of the week, which is this guy, Steve Scalise. He's the House Majority Leader. He cautioned Harvard and other elite institutions that they could lose their accreditation by the federal government if they don't stamp out the insanity on campus. And he said, quote, "You're not playing games anymore, or else you're not a school anymore." He singled out Harvard, University of Pennsylvania, and Columbia, all of which have had their campuses taken over by radical anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, and anti-American protests. They are literally destroying the campuses. And he said, we're looking at the federal money, the federal grants. They go through science committees, student loans, and so on. You have a lot of jurisdiction and involves billions of dollars, and 6 congressional committees are now trying to figure out how to how to remove accreditation of these colleges that have literally lost control of their own campuses. Literally. I hope he's successful.
Yeah.
You know, the money might get them to pay attention. You see all these donors, as we've talked about, pulling their money, right?
Yeah.
But the behaviors aren't changing. There's encampments at these universities again, Will. They're back in school.
Yeah. And you notice the government state media is not even talking about it. Why wouldn't they be talking about it? Because they know the Harris campaign would be in full support. That's the reason why they're not talking about it. They don't want to bring any attention to it. And even when someone gets seriously harmed, they'll maybe report on it like it was just a random thing, and then they won't talk about it anymore. They'll get back to talking about Trump.
Could be. It very well could be. But if the Republicans get control of the House and the Senate and the White House, everything's going to change. No more of this burning American flags on college campuses. No more tearing down statues of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King. That's going to
Abraham
stop.
Lincoln.
Oh yeah, all the criminals.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? All of them. All of them. So to wrap it up, I want to point out a big lie that's really been annoying me. I talked about it yesterday on the air with General Mike Flynn. In the vice presidential debate and the presidential debate, both Tim Walz and Kamala said, we're gun owners. We're hunters. We're never going to take your guns.
Oh my goodness.
2 things have happened. Number one, Tim Walz, and I showed this the other day, released a video of him hunting in his orange vest, carrying a shotgun, wearing hunting boots in camouflage. He couldn't even load his gun. And they published that video as if no one would notice that he couldn't load his own gun, like he'd never seen it before. Okay? Now, this is an admirer of the communist Chinese that ban guns.
Yes.
This is an admirer of Mao Zedong, that said,
Yes.
first we come for the guns, right?
Yep. Yep.
I want you to see this video that surfaced about Kamala Harris talking about mandatory gun buybacks. That's a nice way to say, we're taking your gun, here's $10. Not asking you, it's mandatory. And don't forget, when she was Attorney General in California, she said, we're going to come into the houses of gun owners to see
Sure did.
how they store their guns. Check out
Sure
this
did.
video.
So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. I support buybacks, and it's something I'm so passionate about and so looking forward to being president to address. We've got to deal with this.
How mandatory is your gun buyback program?
It's mandatory.
One of those, the top video we showed first was the debate against Trump. Stop lying.
Yeah.
No one's going to take your guns away. And the other one, the videos are forever, Will. They're on the internet
Oh, yeah.
for life. So
Oh, yeah.
it strikes me as weird that people say stuff, 25, 30 years ago, you could lie and get away with it. Now there's a video that shows you as a liar. If people are watching our show to understand, if you've got a gun and it's legal, right? Maybe it won't be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they have this whole agenda to give our sovereignty over to the United Nations. And United Nations, they have an agenda for this country. The reason why they haven't implemented it as of yet is because they know that a lot of Americans own firearms. And they will not sit idly by and allow you to do it. This is the reason why. So that's why they, every time there's like a devastating act that takes place at a school, in a mall, what have you, a public place, they always emphasize the children. It's always about the children. So you need to give up your protection because of what some criminal did to a group of people. So you need to give up your means of protection, not the criminals, because they never say the criminal. And this is part of the reason why I made the connection of the Democrats here in the United States of America and Hamas. And because they're asking Republicans to do a ceasefire. You understand what I'm saying? Give up your firearms so you can't protect yourself. Israel, give up your land, give up your resources, give up the Iron Dome. I'll never forget it when they went to United Nations complaining to the United Nations because Israel would not share their Iron Dome technology with them. Right? It doesn't make any sense. So they do the same thing. You need to ceasefire while they're we got Hamas trying to get them. They're not saying nothing to Hamas. Here in America, they say nothing to the criminal, but they say stuff to the law-abiding citizen. Constantly coming down on them, constantly coming down on Israel, constantly coming down on people who's in the right. Not perfect, but in the right. Always coming down on them, but they never come down on the people committing these heinous acts. They never do. Hey, they'll even create a statue of you if you're a criminal.
As well they have. If I haven't said enough, go vote wherever you are. Vote. Take your friends to vote. Your votes have never been more important in every single swing state, especially. Please exercise your duty and your responsibility as an American citizen. In the meantime, come to findberry.com to sign up to get all of our content for free, and go to Unite America First for Will Johnson. We will see you all next week, same time, same bad channel. Thanks for joining us. We sure appreciate your support. Bye for now.